I've come to put a stop to the KitchenAid propaganda that you need a mixer to make brioche dough. Alright, so there's not any actual KitchenAid propaganda, but 9 out of 10 recipes you see for brioche will all say to use a mixer. So today we're gonna make perfect brioche hamburger buns all by hand.
So brioche is an enriched dough with milk, eggs, and a whole lot of butter. Some brioche recipes, like the Culinary Institute of America's, use 60% butter compared to the flour. But to me, that starts to feel like a dessert bread more than a burger bun. So this recipe uses a slightly more conservative 38% butter, which is going to give us a little bit firmer bun, and it's easier to work that butter into the dough by hand. Also, during the hand mixing and kneading process, you'll know you're doing it right if you constantly doubt yourself throughout the process until that dough finally comes together and becomes supple. It's also a bit of an arm workout.
Now, this isn't the easiest bread in the world to mix by hand, but being rewarded with little pillows of bread for your burger to rest upon are well worth it, in my opinion. Let's do this.
Start by heating 90 grams of milk to around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you're going to crack in 2 eggs and add 15 grams of white sugar. Whisk that until the egg is beaten and well combined. Then you're going to pour in 5 grams of instant dry yeast and stir that until it is combined as well. You're going to set this aside and let the yeast activate for 5 to 10 minutes until a light foam surfaces and little bubbles are visible on top. Meanwhile, add 300 grams of all-purpose or bread flour to a bowl along with 6 grams of salt. You're going to pour in the proofed yeast mixture and begin working the dough in the bowl with your hands until a cohesive mass form and no dry flour remains in the bowl. The dough is going to be pretty sticky and will feel quite tough at this point, so what we're going to do is let it rest for 30 minutes before adding the butter and starting our kneading process. Letting it rest will allow the flour to further hydrate, which is what helps cause gluten development. With the dough rested, turn it out onto a work surface, and now it's time to add the butter. A lot of butter. Cut a full stick of butter into pieces and lay them on top of the dough and start working it in with your hands. This starts the arm workout portion of our recipe. The butter needs to be completely worked into the dough, and I do this by mashing it into the work surface with the heel of my hand. Really spread that dough thin and just mash everything together as best you can. Another invaluable tool for this process is a bench scraper, which helps keep everything tidy and moving around. At first, you'll think this butter is never going to incorporate and the dough is ruined, but you just need to keep working it and eventually it will come together. It took me around 10 minutes to get that butter completely incorporated, and you can see how it's kind of a sticky dough that really sticks to itself now, and this is when the dough is actually ready to be kneaded. You can do this by kneading with the heel of your hand, or you can do this slap and fold technique by throwing the dough on the work surface, folding over it onto itself, and then just repeating that motion. Continue the slap and fold process until the dough is completely smooth and no longer sticky. This is probably going to take another 5 to 10 minutes, and we're going to check the doneness with a gluten window test. Now that the dough is smooth, I'm going to take a small piece of it and see if I can stretch it without tearing until it's slightly transparent. You can see that this first test tore without getting really thin, so I continued slapping and folding for another couple of minutes. Now when I check for a gluten window, I was able to stretch it really thin and we can see that light shine through. If you want to learn a little bit more about gluten development, you can check out my guide to sandwich bread video. With our gluten developed, add the dough to a bowl and cover it with saran wrap. We're going to let this proof until it is doubled in size. This typically takes about 60 to 90 minutes, but it will depend on the temperature of the room it's in and the activity of your yeast. While the dough is rising, we are going to make our tin foil ring molds. You can make this without the molds, but they definitely help give a little more height to our bun in the final product. And this is a tip that I picked up from a Chef Steps video that is really quite genius. Grab a 12-inch by 6-inch piece of tin foil and begin folding the foil into a thin strip about 3/4 of an inch high. Now you're going to put this into a circle and staple the ends together. If you take 12 inches and divide by the value of pi, we have roughly a 3 3/4 inch diameter bun. I also realized this is the first time I've had to use the value of pi since high school. In total, you're gonna make 6 total ring molds for our buns, and then we can get back to our risen dough. With the brioche dough risen, punch it down and turn it out onto the counter. We're gonna portion the dough into 6 buns that are gonna be roughly 100 grams each. This will give you a fairly hefty sized burger, though you could scale up or down as you see fit. Once portioned, we're gonna set up our ring molds by laying down some parchment paper on a baking sheet, adding the ring molds, and then just gently spraying them with some cooking spray. Take a portion of dough and just pinch it into a ball. You can place it on the counter and gently twist it to create a tighter dough ball if you want to, and then you're just gonna place that dough ball in the middle of the ring mold and repeat this process for each bun. Once those are all done, using the underside of a bowl, gently press down until the bowl hits the top of the ring mold. Then we're going to place an inverted baking sheet over top and let these buns proof until they're doubled in size. This is probably going to take another 60 to 90 minutes. Once the buns are well proofed, the last thing to do is add the egg wash. This is another signature item for brioche that makes a fairly big difference. The egg wash gives it that nice brown and golden exterior and also allows you to top them with things like sesame seeds. Add 1 whole egg and 15 milliliters of water to a bowl and vigorously whisk that until it is well combined. Then you're going to gently brush that egg wash over top of each bun. Now for the most classic burger bun topping, I'm just going to sprinkle over some white sesame seeds, but you could do things like poppy seeds, everything bagel seeds, or just some flaky salt. Once the buns are topped, place them into a preheated 350 degrees Fahrenheit oven, and you're gonna bake these for around 20 minutes until they are golden brown. I like to flip them halfway through just so it gets even browning on both sides, and then you're going to stick a thermometer in the bun for a target temperature of 203 degrees Fahrenheit. Once they're out of the oven, you can place them on a wire rack and let them cool for maybe 20 to 30 minutes before slicing in and enjoying. You'll also know the buns are properly done if you can press on them and they spring back. Now here's me just absolutely ripping through it, and we can see we have this gorgeous, light, and fluffy crumb. And if we slice one open, we've got these nice tight little bubbles of air. I think it's time to make a quick smash burger. Take 5 ounces of ground beef and separate them into 2 2.5 ounce balls. Season them with salt and pepper, and I also added a little bit of smoked paprika too, and roll them around so the seasoning coats the outside. Now get a cast iron hotter than a jalapeno from hell, and place the ball down and immediately smash it with the back of your spatula. Repeat the same process with the other burger. Cook them for 45 to 60 seconds without touching them to let that crust develop. Then you're going to flip the spatula upside down and scrape the burger to keep the crust intact. Once flipped, place a piece of cheese on the second flip burger and place the other one on top. Now I'm just going to lay the brioche buns down on the cast iron to toast up a bit, and then on our toasted brioche bun, we're going to spread down some special sauce from the fried chicken video. I added a couple homemade pickles, and finally our smash burger. Place a little more sauce on top of the other bun, and that is a absolutely delicious hamburger.
So like I said, it's not the easiest dough to do by hand, but I'll be damned if it's not worth it. The step-by-step recipe for these will be up on my website, which will be linked down in the description below. But that's gonna wrap it up for this one. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.